Greetings, my excellent friends. The Dead Monk welcomes you to Purgatory. It's time again for Good Omens, and today we're talking about Episode 4. Before I get into spoilers and of what all happened in the episode, my overall thoughts on this one are, I think it's the weakest episode I've watched so far. So of the first four, it's the weakest. Either it just didn't have as much humor, or maybe the humor just didn't hit as often for me as the other episodes. Show's still great. Still like the episode, just I feel like it's the weakest so far. It's also starting to get weirder, and weird is good. No complaints about weirdness. But yeah, just not quite as funny to me as the previous three. Not a whole lot else I can say without getting into spoilers. So, I've seen 4 episodes now, still 2 more to go, and if you haven't watched the show yet, strong recommendation, you need to watch Good Omens. It's only 6 episodes. You can find it on Amazon. As I said with the previous ones, if you like British humour, particularly if you like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and things like that, then you're going to like this. Alright, so any other thoughts on the show? Yeah, they'll come along with some spoilers. So what happened? So in the last episode, Aziraphale had told Crowley that he didn't want to associate with them anymore. They weren't friends, and that made me sad because I love the interaction between the two, but, I mean, they have to be rekindling their friendship by the end. I mean, there's no way it's not going to happen. And both of them had individually told Shadwell to send his witchfinders off to Tadfield to try to find the Antichrist. Although Aziraphale knows who it is, where he lives, Crowley doesn't know that part. And right at the end of the last episode, we saw Adam Young, the Antichrist. We saw Adam's powers manifest while he was sleeping. He was able to make a nuclear reactor just disappear. Well, this episode picks up. More of that is happening. He'd been reading a magazine about Atlantis. Start of the episode, there's a cruise ship, and it's suddenly grounded because the whole continent of Atlantis has risen from the bottom of the ocean. So there's Atlantis. It even has people on it. And we see more of this sort of thing later in the episode. But we see Aziraphale. He's pleading with Gabriel. Isn't there something we can do to stop Armageddon? Why does there have to be a doomsday? And Gabriel says, well, the whole plan is to have a war and to win the war. That's the plan. So there's no point in trying to stop it. The plan is to have it. He's been told, Aziraphale, he's been told this more than once. And Gabriel says, it's about to start. So you need to report up to heaven so you can join the battle. And then asks him, hey, where's that flaming sword that we gave you? So this is the second time the sword's been mentioned. So, yeah, it must be important. I figure that maybe at the end somebody's going to show up with the sword. I mean, he gave the flaming sword to Adam and Eve when they got kicked out of Eden. And maybe the sword's just been passed down through generations, like the Book of Prophecies, the nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter. Maybe it's been the same with the flaming sword. It's just been passed down generation to generation, and someone's going to show up with it. I don't know. It's been mentioned in most episodes, so it's probably going to show up. Well, Gabriel goes back up to heaven and meets with Michael, and I think this is the first time that we've heard that this angel that we've seen before, but I think this is the first time we've heard that this is the angel Michael. And all I could think of at the time was, I feel like now there are more characters in television named Michael who are women than are men, which just seems weird. I mean, does every show now have to have women named Michael? It's weird. But the point is, but at least this is a good show with a woman named Michael. Unlike that other show, we don't want to mention it, it's garbage. But this is a good show. Anyway, Michael has some photos of Aziraphale and Crowley meeting together. Shows them to Gabriel and says, something's up here. Aziraphale and Crowley aren't even supposed to have... They're not supposed to talk to each other. So she asks Gabriel if she can look into it, and he says, alright. And she goes off and she calls one of the demons that we've seen before that's been skeptical of Crowley. So she calls him and asks, hey, is Aziraphale really working for you? He says, no. And she says, well, you should check on Crowley. I don't think you can trust him. And he already doesn't. But, I mean, do the angels and demons often interact with each other like this? The higher-ups, do they communicate with the other side? Or is Michael really some sort of double agent? Yeah, I'm not sure. It wasn't that clear. Because she's kind of hiding. She's in a stairwell, but just keeps talking on the phone normally when some other angel comes by. So yeah, I'm not sure. And meanwhile, Crowley, well, he's still trying to figure out where he should go in the universe. The Earth's about to end, so where should he go? Picking places. The moon, no good. Other planets, other star systems, other galaxies. And, well, once again, it's David Tennant talking about going around the universe, and of course, all I can think of is Doctor Who. Happens all the time in this show. Alright, well now it's time for our last two Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I thought it was going to be one in each episode, but no, we got one in episode 2, one in episode 3, and now we get our other two. So the next package is delivered to Pollution. Apparently, Pestilence retired at some point and was replaced by Pollution. So this is our third horseman. So the delivery man gives Pollution a crown, and then immediately after he has his last delivery, and his last delivery is to Death. But the only thing that he has for Death is a message. But apparently he has to be dead to deliver the message, so as soon as he steps out of his delivery van, well, he gets run over by a lorry. So he gives Death the message, "Come and see," which tells Death that it's time. It's time for Doomsday. But this is again all we see of our horsemen. Just like the other episodes, we meet them, something is delivered to them, and then that's it for the episode for them. So next we check in on Shadwell. He's giving Pulsifer all his tools he needs to kill off those demon witches, and sends him off to Tadfield. And he's not taking any of this too seriously. I mean, he is in Shadwell. So off to Tadfield goes Pulsifer and his piece of crap Reliant Robin. So on his way to Tadfield, we encounter more of the manifestations from Adam Young. An alien ship lands right next to him and gives greetings of peace and harmony and all that stuff because, well, Adam imagined that. And speaking of Adam, we check in on him and his friends, and they're talking about how the whales need to be saved and all that. And, well, then immediately all these Japanese whaling ships start getting destroyed. There's a giant sea monster, the Kraken. Adam's parents see this on TV, and his dad, well, he looks over and sees the magazine that Adam had left there, which has, well, that same monster right on the cover, so he knows something's up. They already think their son's a little weird. And yeah, now he sees that there's this monster on the magazine Adam was reading, and suddenly there it is on the telly. But that's all we see of his parents, so I don't know. Maybe some more will come of them later, not sure. And then right as Pulsifer is driving his Robin past Adam and his friends, he crashes his car trying to avoid some Tibetans who had tunneled out of the ground because, well, that was another magazine Adam had read about some Tibetan tunnels all over the world so they could use it as a spy network. So he crashes his car, knocks himself out, and the kids drag him to Anathema's house, where she's already been preparing for his arrival because it was in one of the prophecies. So she already knows exactly when he's going to show up. Now, the other demon that we've seen a decent amount of, Hasta, he's gone to the fields of Megiddo to prepare for the arrival of the Antichrist. The plan is that the ambassador, whose son they think is the Antichrist, the ambassador has a photo op to do there. He's going to bring his family, and the Antichrist will show up, although it's really the kid Warlock, who's not the Antichrist. But Warlock's going to be there, the Hellhound will be there with him, and then the four horsemen are going to show up, and this will kick off everything. But the ambassador shows up, there's no Hellhound, and Hasta knows something's wrong. It's all Crowley's fault. And now those two demons, they're coming for Crowley. So Crowley goes off to find Aziraphale and makes one more appeal to him. Please, come on. I'm sorry about everything. Let's go together off to the stars. We can go anywhere we want. But Aziraphale still will have none of it. He still thinks he can get this whole thing to be stopped. So Crowley goes back to his house. The demons show up, but he set a trap for them. That holy water that Aziraphale gave him, he does the good old bucket of water on top of the door. They come in, and one of the demons, he gets taken out. The holy water obliterates him. And then Hasta's still there, so Crowley sets a trap for him, and he traps him inside the phone lines. He traps him inside his antique answering machine that actually still has a little mini cassette tape. So for the moment, he's off the hook. And at the same time, Aziraphale is confronted by some of the angels, all the ones we've seen before except for Gabriel. They even start beating him up. We don't know what they're going to do to him, how far they're going to take it. But then some trumpets call, and oh, it's time to go to war. So they stop and they go back up off to heaven. So Aziraphale goes in his bookshop, and he opens a gateway to heaven so that he can make a call. He's trying to contact God, but he basically gets God's voicemail. It says the same thing he said before. Can't something be done? Do we have to have Armageddon? And it's the same answer he keeps getting. Yes, that's the plan. The plan is to have war and win. So he's getting nowhere. There's nothing he can do to stop all this. So he's finally had a change of heart and calls Crowley to say, hey, I'm sorry, I know where the Antichrist is. Let's try to do something. But this is while Crowley's in the middle of trying to escape the demons. And all this is during Pulsifer being taken to Anathema's house. While Adam's staring at stuff, his friends leave. He doesn't want them to, and he's starting to act weird. And so, well, they say this as they're walking around. They say, well, Adam's getting pretty weird. They're starting to be worried about him. But somehow he got ahead of them, and he's right there waiting for them. And now his powers are really coming into play. He's able to force them to walk to him, and they are just not able to leave. And he starts talking about how he's going to make the world a better place. He starts levitating, and now he's making storms all over, and tornadoes. And yeah, while that was happening, Pulsifer has woken up. Anathema explains to him that she's a real witch, but she's not afraid of him because there were no prophecies saying that she should be afraid of him. She's still trying to figure out where the Antichrist is, and based on one of the prophecies, he's able to figure out, well, it's Adam Young, the boy he's been sent to go spy on. And just as they're trying to go to Adam's house, well, tornadoes pop up right as they walk outside, and well, instead they just have to go inside and hide. But for some reason, they now have to have sex, because it was in a prophecy. I don't really understand why. It didn't seem to accomplish anything. I mean, unless there's some rules later that one of them has to do something and you can't do it if you're a virgin. Because, well, he was. She didn't say whether she was or not. But yeah, I don't know. This whole scene confused me. I didn't know why it was happening, other than there was a prophecy. So yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. As I said, maybe there'll be some reason it had to happen later. Well, also during all this, Shadwell, he realizes that there's actually something serious here, and he has sent Pulsifer into great peril. He needs to go there to Tadfield. He can't let Pulsifer be there all alone, but he has no money to get on the train or take a bus. So he goes to Aziraphale's shop to try to grift some money off him, peeks in through the mail slot, and he sees when Aziraphale is in contact with heaven. So he's picking the lock to get in while Aziraphale was having his call to Crowley saying, hey, I'm sorry. But Shadwell gets in there and says, oh, you're a demon, you're possessed. He's confronting him. That gateway to heaven, it's still open. And so as Aziraphale's trying to calm him down, saying, you're crazy, he accidentally backs over the gateway and gets sent up to heaven. And so Shadwell thinks that he's just exorcised a demon. But in his shock, well, he leaves the shop, but one of the candles falls over, and now Aziraphale's bookstore is on fire. But the first thing to burn was the Sound of Music, which he made very clear in the first episode. Yeah, I think it was the very first episode. It was the first or the second, but he made very clear earlier he does not like the Sound of Music. So at least it was the first thing to burn. And that's where we leave off. 2 more episodes to go. As I said, still enjoyed it. I thought, although I did think it was the weakest episode, again, just didn't feel as funny to me. Still good. Or maybe it's just that there wasn't much interaction between Crowley and Aziraphale. Maybe that's why I didn't like this episode as much. Because their chemistry is the best part of the show. Every time they're conversing with each other, I mean, it's always great. But there was hardly any of that in this episode. So, yeah, it's probably just that. But since they didn't have much time together, we did at least get a lot of good development for all the other characters. But yeah, now that I think about it, it's probably a lack of Crowley and Aziraphale. Well, I mean, they were in the episode plenty, but yeah, the lack of them together. I'm probably going to get to the last 2 episodes a little quicker this time, because it's only about a week and a half until Stranger Things comes out, and I want to watch that too. Although with that one, I don't think I'm going to do 1 episode a week. I'll probably just watch the whole series. Anyway, good Omens. Check it out if you haven't. Great show. Still can't wait to see how it ends. Because I don't know how it ends, I have not read the book. So until I get to episode 5, be excellent to each other. Farewell. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it and would like to encourage me to make more, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks again. A bientôt.